vile and reprehensible. That's how many have described recent comments made by the People's National Party Youth Organization, the PNP-YO President, Crystal Tomlinson. On Wednesday, Tomlinson in a tweet compared Prime Minister Andrew Holness to the infamous Nazi leader Adolf Hitler. In her tweet, Tomlinson said, and I'm quoting here, Holness's track record suggests that he's a Prime Minister who has scant regard for the court, the Constitution, and the separation of powers doctrine. Reminds me of Adolf Hitler and his approach to designing a new Germany. Just be a big man and admit you're wrong, Mr. Holness, end quote. That comment sparked a firestorm of criticism and outrage on social media. Tomlinson later sought to explain the reason behind her tweet. But that explanation too earned her more backlash, with many saying she needs to just apologize for the comment. We're now joined by PNP-YO President Ms. Crystal Tomlinson. Crystal, how are you?
I am fine, Mr. Wignall. Good morning to you and your listeners. I hope you're doing well today.
Yes, I am, and I'm glad you're here because you're going to be asked some very hard questions. And
yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this: what did you mean by your tweet? I mean, why did you compare the Prime Minister to Adolf Hitler? And of course, you had to have known that this was the most infamous dictator, a genocidal leader, whose actions led to a world war which killed about 70 to 85 million people. Where was all this stemming from, Crystal?
Okay, so let me first say, you are absolutely correct in how you have described the closing chapters of Adolf Hitler's leadership of Germany.
Right.
But my focus was on his opening chapters. The way he came into power.
You're talking about from 1933 coming down.
Right. It was
Yes.
not a despotic way that he came into power. In fact, he had the support of the nation, the legislature, and constitutionally, he was correct to have been holding the position he held. So he didn't come in as a despot and tear the world apart in order to get to mass genocide. So my focus is not on how he concluded leadership. What I said, and I was very, very clear in the tweet, that the scant regard for the Constitution and the separation of powers doctrine, that is what reminds me of Hitler, because that is exactly how he came to power. And the context within which I framed my tweet, first he took it to its extreme conclusion, which is that I think that Prime Minister Holness will end up building concentration camps in Jamaica.
But
that's not what I said, and I believe I was very, very specific in telling you exactly what my concern was, which was his disregard for the Constitution and the separation of powers doctrine.
All right, Krista, I'm going to ask you to just hold that point because we need to take a break. We'll soon be back. YO President, and we're speaking to her about her recent comparison of Prime Minister Holness to Adolf Hitler. And in my first question to her, she actually dug a little bit of a hole for herself by saying she wasn't exactly comparing him, the Prime Minister, to all of Hitler. She was only comparing him to the beginnings of the Hitlerian regime, if it can, or the beginning of the Third Reich. Crystal, do you realize what you just said a while ago?
I'll say again, Mr. Wignall, the approach to the Constitution and separation of powers is very similar to how it was approached in Germany in the 1930s.
Yes.
By one of the world's most egregious leaders or despots, however you want to frame it. What I would like...
Genocidal maniac.
Absolutely, genocidal maniac. I'm saying, we as a democracy, Jamaicans, should be uncomfortable that there is any such similarity at all. Not uncomfortable that I said the word Hitler, but uncomfortable that I'm able to list the disregard for the Constitution and separation of powers and militarization of the state and show you where the most genocidal maniac in history did a similar thing. That's what should make us uncomfortable enough.
But hold
we should
on,
not have
Crystal,
any such similarities.
Crystal,
So what I would like, before we get to the
Mm-hmm.
conclusion,
Okay.
sorry for the noise, a helicopter is passing overhead. But what I would like us to review.
Yes, go ahead. Hello? Have we lost the lady? Yes, I'm assuming. Yes, Crystal.
Chopper couldn't.
We had lost you there for a while.
Right. So what I was saying is, I'm asking us to explore whether there are any such similarities in the disregard for the Constitution. If there are none, then my point is invalid. But the only thing I'm seeking to compare, because comparisons have to be precise, similarities indicate that there are differences. I didn't say it was the same. Similarities indicate that there are differences. So I accept that his intent is dissimilar from Adolf Hitler's. I accept that we will not descend into genocidal rule as a result of it. But what I would like you to explore with Minister Wignall is whether or not I was right to say that there are similarities in the approach to the Constitution and separation of powers across the two regimes.
Well,
that is specifically what I said in my tweet.
Well, hold on.
And it is actually disingenuous to try to force me into a conversation about genocide and concentration camps.
Yes,
Because
but Crystal,
for you to generalize it.
Crystal, you're a highly intelligent woman. You are an educated person. And you know that if you even decide that you're going to use 1 or 5% of Hitler in a comparison to the Prime Minister, it is simply going to be seen as you're comparing Prime Minister Holness to Hitler. You ought to have known that.
I'm not saying I didn't know, but in accepting an interview with Mark Wignall, I expect that you would observe the precision within which I made the comparison and allow us to discuss those precise terms. The general public, I'm not surprised that they took it to the extreme conclusion, but I really do hold you to a different standard to be able to discuss the specifics of my comparison.
Which is almost like saying that there's an 18-wheeler truck going down a hill and it has one bad tire, and that one bad tire is going to create one big crash at the bottom of the hill. But it's not the truck you're really making reference to, it's just the tire.
Mr. Wignall, I'm asking if this interview is meant to explore the specifics of my comparison, or if it is to have me discuss the most extreme conclusion, which I did not
but
make. So I'm really asking if that is the nature of the interview. If it is not, let me know, because I honestly thought your producer said to me it was to discuss the reason and to allow me to have a discussion on the why behind what I said.
All right. You said that you said that you had apologized. But some might say that wasn't really an apology. Because even right now what you are doing, you are segmenting. And I'm giving you that. You are picking out the maybe the better parts of Hitler to compare to our Prime Minister.